So I'm starting today's walk at Goring Station, which as you can see is very quiet today. In normal days there would be a coffee stall just over there, which would be very nice. But the beauty of Goring Station is it's on the outskirts of the town, so you can see I'm going to follow this footpath immediately opposite the station, which goes straight into this field, and I'm going to follow this track across the middle of the field. It's a little bit overcast at the moment, but it is very warm. It feels as though it's probably about 20 degrees, but is a bit hazy. They say it's going to clear up later, so we'll maybe later in this walk get a few glimpses of blue sky, maybe be able to see further. We're actually going to make for that high point you can see just over there, which is called Highdown Hill. It's the start of the South Downs, which run right round Sussex, but as you can see it's one of the smaller ones. It's about 266 feet high, which is very small by South Downs standard. So this field is growing a crop which I wouldn't like to guess at this stage, but I think is a wheat, and we're going to be just walking up here to about where that pylon is. So I'll keep quiet and you can just enjoy this scenery. About 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, we were at the end of a very heavy period of very heavy rain, and it dried out very quickly after that. So you can see here, for example, tractor tracks have solidified into very uneven clay, and it's quite difficult to walk on in places, but for those of you that are walking up and down in your living room while I do this, perhaps not so difficult. Okay, we're coming to the end of this track across the field here. There's the pylon straight ahead. And we're going to turn off along this way. As you can see, it's very uneven ground here. And I'm just trying to make my mind up. There are some dog walkers over there, but I think I can walk through here. Where we come to the footpath, which runs alongside the Rife. So this river here is known as Ferring Rife, Rife being a Sussex dialect word for small river. Morning. Nice couple of dogs there. So you get a better view from here of Highdown Hill. It's almost standalone in this area as a rise in the ground, and hence over the centuries it has been quite an important landmark.
Morning. Morning. Practicing your social distancing then, huh?
So as we walk along here, I'll look back towards Goring, and you can see fairly low-rise town. There are a few houses here, and then more fields beyond that leading down to the sea. So it's a quite rural area. And we have a nice clump of trees up ahead, which are beginning to show spring leaves. So it looks as though we have nettles in flower on the side of the Rife here, and these trees, as you can see, now pretty well fully in leaf. On the side of the road over there you can see still some daffodils. That was full of daffodils about 2 weeks ago. They're passing over a little now, but still some yellow. We have another dog walker coming towards us. We're going to keep well apart as we cross. You meet Far fewer people these days, of course, when you're walking, but when you do, people seem to be much more friendly from a distance. So there's the hill just disappearing now behind these trees. We'll be crossing over there in a moment, making our way up the hill. Right, some more people up ahead, but there isn't a bridge over the river here, so we have to make a slight detour to get over to the bridge, so I won't get very close to these people. So there's the bridge up ahead. We're going to have to go around a couple of houses here to get to them. There's the weir taking the water under the bridge. So we're going to follow this path round this way. And around this way. And one more. There's the South Coast train going past. The trains through here run the whole length of the South Coast. So they would run, for example, from Brighton to Littlehampton, which are, I suppose, about equidistant either side of Goring. Right, a little bit of a detour to get round to that bridge, but we will be there in just a moment. And here's the footpath again out. These footpaths go in all directions here. You can see it runs back into Goring. That's another route we could have taken, but I wanted you to see the hill across the Rife, which is quite a nice view. Here we come out to the other side of those houses, so it's the edge of a built-up area. Nice clematis coming out here, some forsythia, and another plant. So we'll walk back up this road to that bridge. On the right here we're going to pass a couple of cottages which are typical of the cottages in the area. They're traditionally built of flint here, as you can see, the sorts of pebbles you get on the beach, and the flints emerge from chalk, which is what most of the downs here are made of. So these on the right here are the houses we just walked around. Interesting cherry tree here. This is a weeping cherry. And here's the bridge over the Rife, and there's the weir that we were at just now. So after that little detour we are now the other side of the Rife, just coming up to the main road. So this is the main dual carriageway that runs along the coast in effect. On normal days this would be a fairly tricky crossing, but today it's a fraction of the amount of traffic that you would normally find, so we can cross quite easily. One car coming, and that's it. One car coming the other way, and over we go. So here there are several garden related companies, some garden centres, some landscaping architects, one or two nurseries. Mostly now closed, of course, but you can see there's a public bridleway runs up here, so we're going to go through here. Pedestrians keep this side. And I'm not going to walk straight up there because it's slightly boring, but you can see the greenhouses here. I'm going to turn off on this footpath here. Sounds like a robin above me. And I'm not going to climb over the stile because there's a gate here. And here we are on the playing fields. Now, if you walk diagonally across here, it takes you slightly up the slope, but it's not such a fierce slope as walking straight up the footpath. So I'm going to walk across here. I can see one other walker going up the hill and one man with his dog. On a normal day this would be packed with people, leave alone playing football. But today we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, 15, 17 pigeons. So I think that's probably about 8 a side and 1 referee. Yeah, you can see the dog walker now. I can now see that the other walker has actually got a bicycle. Quite sure why anyone would want to wheel a bicycle up Highdown Hill, but still. The footpaths here actually run around the edge of the field, but you can see that today there's hardly anyone about, and I'm going to just walk straight across. And we can look back now and see how far we've come. Nice blossom trees along the side of the road there, one lonely house, and on we go. So as well as cherry trees here and new leaves, you can see we've got some white thorn in bloom, more over there, and these look as though they're cowslips. Can't quite see from this distance. Ah yes, there we are, some cowslips. And we come now to the corner of the field. Passing the dog bin, and you can see there's the footpath around the field coming through here. Lovely whitethorn bushes on the way, and primroses coming out here. And still some cherry trees in bloom. So Highdown Hill is now owned by the National Trust, and it has here National Trust gardens, closed at the moment of course, but very lovely to walk through in due course. one or two cars here, but I think these are mostly workmen because they're doing some work on the car park at the top here. Here we are, you can see some remains of the daffodils. Those look as though they might be campions over there, some pink campions. And on a normal day, as you can see, we have the Highdown pub, and just behind it is the Highdown tea rooms. A lovely place to stop at this point. We'll take a little detour here just for the sake of seeing out across the fields. There is another footpath that runs up here, you see. Another field of corn, and over in the distance there you can see the spire of Goring Church, which is about where we started this morning. So we'll carry on up the hill. So you can see here the footpath goes off to the right. I only came up here really to avoid the boring road, so we'll cut back through the hedge. There's the Highdown pub, quite nice, built with flint again, as you can see. Here's the work that's been going on Highdown Gardens. There's the gardens in there. And the car park is closed, which is good to see. Just a couple of cars here from the workmen. So we're going to walk around these works here. So there we are, one of the victims of the current shutdown. Right, so here's the entrance to the hill here. And actually somebody's sitting at the picnic tables. But you can begin to see now, as we see the other side of the hill, just how high this is. So we can see over the other side there to the villages of Patching and Clapham. Two more dog walkers over there, and some more seats up here where it's very nice to sit and admire the view. But we're going to go on just a little bit further. This hill is an absolute maze of footpaths. They run in all directions. So I mentioned that Highdown Hill was an important feature in the area. It was the traditional burial place for the kings of Sussex until there stopped being such things as kings of Sussex. The hill, of course, was inhabited at one time by various camps. I don't know I may have used up the capacity of my camera. It keeps switching itself off. But here we go. Reaching the fields now. Reaching the seats now, I should say. And you can see behind these seats here there is a small enclosure. So this is the tomb of one John Oliver, who was a miller. He was a miller in the 18th century, so you can see his gravestone there. Aged 84, buried in... oh, I can't work it out. Anyway, born in 1703, so he died in the late 18th century. And he built this tomb about 27 years before he died. And he was later recorded as being a notorious smuggler. His mill is the other side of the hill here, and I'll show you where that was in a moment. And the story goes that he would set the sails on his mill to various angles to tell his smugglers out at sea whether there were people about or not, mostly the customs and excise men, and if the way was clear they would hide the contraband in that grave there, and it could then be distributed at his leisure. So I'm just going to climb this last little bit here where you can see the summit. A few more people around now. There's a runner here, a couple of young ladies over there walking, but from the top here we should get the view of the south coast, and on a good day, of course, which it isn't today, you should be able to see all the way to the Isle of Wight in one direction and the Seven Sisters in the other. Today you'll be lucky if you can make out the sea. In fact, that line of trees there is the coast, so if you can just make out a grey line beyond it, that's the horizon. So the sea is just there. That's the town of Ferring, Goring and Worthing. And in case you wonder why nearly every town around here ends in ing, ing is an old Anglo-Saxon word meaning of the people. So Worthing, for example, was the land belonging to the people of Worth, and it gradually became Worthing. So here we come now to an important signpost. This one, I believe, points in almost every direction, so we have lots of choices now about where to go. And if you look in that direction you might just see there's another signpost down there pointing in yet further directions. So as I said, paths everywhere here. We're just going to go to what looks like the highest point. And here now you can start to see the Bronze Age embankment which runs around these trees in the middle here. This embankment also has a ditch around it which we'll go over and have a look at. So the centre of this embankment was full of trees at one time, rather like other hilltop rings of trees, Sisbury Ring and so on, which are nearby. But It was used during the war as a radar station, which unfortunately destroyed many of them, and the Great Storm of 1987 removed a few more, so there's a bit of a gap. Right, I'm just going to climb this embankment and then we'll be at the highest point. And there we are. So that's inside the Bronze Age camp. See, the cyclist has just made it on a different route, and you can get a sense here of the embankment around the edge. And there's the view that you had. Pretty well the whole of the sea for the county of Sussex. And I'm just going to walk to the end here, where I'm going to sit down and have a cup of coffee, and I will then continue this walk back on another entry, and perhaps you'd like to have a coffee with me. All for now. Okay, so here's the trig point. This is the highest point on the hill. You can see it's just on the far side of the embankment, and although there is a lot of scrub here, you can get a sense, I think, of how far you would normally be able to see in that direction. There's the rolling hills in the distance of the downs, going all the way along there, and there, straight ahead, you can just make out the mill. So we're going to walk towards the mill now, past these rows and rows of whitethorn, and you can see here, I think, how the soil is mostly chalk, starting to break through the grass in places here. I hope you enjoyed your coffee break, by the way. I sat on the edge of the embankment and enjoyed mine, and you can see now that the sun has come out. This mist will burn off by the time I get back, probably. And I've now taken off my jacket and I'm only wearing a t-shirt. It's that warm. Who would have guessed? So you can see lots of whitethorn here, very attractively blossoming, and the footpath I'm taking runs around this side of the copse here. Very chalky path. Other walkers over there just going through the gate. We're going to make for that gate too. Quite an extensive view from here, as you can see. On the lower slopes of Highdown Hill we have the Highdown Vineyard, and continuing to walk along the road by the side of the dual carriageway, we come to this. Another footpath. So I'm going to walk along here. So the Twitton comes out here in the Ilex Way, which runs from east to west, and there's the sea just at the other end of those fields. So I'm now going to walk along Ilex Way. I will point the camera in that direction, as it's quite interesting to see all the ilex trees as we go along. And there's the Ilex Way that we're walking along. Runs for about a mile and a half straight to my house. So Ilex Way was built as a carriageway leading to Goring Hall, which was where the original lord of the manor used to live. And the manor house itself, Goring Hall, has now been given over to a hospital. We'll pass that in just a moment. And the carriageway has, running between two lines of ancient ilex trees, has been given over to the public as a public footpath. Just passing Fernhurst Recreation Ground now. As you can see, popular area for dog walkers as well as children playing, although not many today. And dog walkers keeping well apart. And now this is the entrance here to Goring Hall Hospital. And off to the left, in a few moments, there's a road which leads back to the station where we started this morning. So I will stop this video now, as we're just about coming to the end of the walk. This carries on like this for another half a mile or so. Nice though it is, you'll have to repeat this video if you want to see more.